My name is Kyla, and I am a customer success manager at iGUIDE. So I've been here for a couple of months now, and this is my colleague.
Hello, my name is Peter Holmes. Kyle and I are on the same team. I'm an enterprise account manager here at iGUIDE, and yeah, probably one of the more important things that iGUIDE has added in 2024, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we don't want to sell ourselves too much, but we did want to say and kind of introduce ourselves as this new role that we've incorporated in at iGUIDE, where we're here to help support and account manage different organizations. So we'll talk a little bit about our role throughout this presentation, but we did want to introduce ourselves if we haven't already met you. We're part of the new team here. That's really important and all about supporting you all going into 2025 as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an awesome job. Our job is essentially just to help you be more successful and whatever that looks like for you. So yeah, give us a shout out at customer success at planetar.com.
Yeah,
We'll
and we'll
help you
share that.
out.
Okay, so to get started, we wanted to go over just a quick agenda of what we're going to cover today. So to start off, I'm going to do a quick 2024 by the numbers, share some insights of what we saw in 2024, and also some fun numbers to keep it a little less boring. We're also going to go over what was launched in 2024 at iGUIDE. So you've probably seen a lot of emails from us, maybe too many sometimes. But we've launched a lot of different products, and features throughout the year. So we wanted to give a bit of a timeline and a look back and everything that's come in 2024. Then we're going to do a little bit of customer highlights. And finally, we're going to finish things off with some industry trends and looking ahead a little bit into what's coming in the new year.
All right. So just a couple of notes before Kyla jumps into the numbers. A few housekeeping things. Q&A can go on throughout in the chat, but we're not going to answer anything at the end. So there's no Q&A at the end, but we will get back to them. All the chat is logged on our end, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask them there. It's just easy, and then we'll get back to you at the end. But it's just Kyla and I here, so we're going to do it after the fact. And there is a discount code, and that will happen at the end. So it's for 10% off, and we'll give you the code at the end of the webinar. Also, one more note, if you have a cell phone handy with you, I kind of went crazy with the QR code. So there's a lot of links to resources. This is an overview webinar, so it's a great way for you to save those links, and then you can sort of review things as we go on.
Perfect. Yes, you'll see lots of QR codes throughout. And we mentioned earlier the customer success at planetar.com email as well. So that is included here. If you ever have any questions or concerns that come up and you haven't talked to a dedicated rep like myself or Peter, please feel free to use that email address. We'll be able to direct where it needs to go, depending on what your question is. But we're happy to help at any time as well. Perfect. Okay, so let's jump into it. Let's get started right away with some look at 2024 by the numbers. So I wanted to look at what was the smallest iGUIDE produced in 2024, and actually found a really interesting stat that it was 2 square feet. And you're probably thinking in your head, what is that? Like, who was doing an iGUIDE for 2 square feet? What actually happened at least 10 times throughout the year. So what I've inferred from this and looking into this was actually that there was a lot of closets, updated into iGUIDES at various points throughout the year. So I like to turn this into a little bit of a tip and trick moment. So you don't have to go and resubmit and update an iGUIDE with a closet. I'd always recommend shooting your closets on the first time you're out of a shoot and a scan, and just opening all those doors. One of our iGUIDE pros here at iGUIDE used to say he would take a little door stop with him to every scan or shoot that he was on, and put them in all the closets just to remind himself not to miss any of them. But that's a little bit of a fun fact that that there was 2 square foot iGUIDES produced at least 10 different times throughout the year. And actually, it was 58 different times that it was under 10 square feet. So really interesting little bit, tidbit there about updating and small updates that have to happen to iGUIDES. You'll then see the median and the average iGUIDE in square feet. So the median was about 1,800 square foot, and the average was around 22, almost 2,300 square foot. So really interesting stat, but quite in line with what I looked up as, I would say, the cookie cutter average for both the US and Canada. It does vary a lot. I tried to look up the exact one for the US and Canada, but it varies a lot, which you all are probably aware of, by where you are, the different like makeups of houses in different states or different climates. So we were just joking now, we're up north, there's lots of snow. All our buildings have brick, whereas like in California, for instance, you might not have a basement because, you know, there's the climate there and what it's affected by. So, but this sounds really in line with like square foot of a cookie cutter home. So we did want to share that. And if you're ever interested in your own average, please feel free to reach out. We can always provide that to you as well, like what your average square foot is throughout the year. And then the final little tidbit for the biggest. Right now, there's actually one being worked on that's about 650,000 square foot. So really large iGUIDE this year. I looked up some comparisons. I think this is a really big commercial building, but some comparisons for this one was, it was, I think, 11 football fields, American football fields, or 3.5 Walmart stores. So quite a large building, even by commercial standards. To that point as well, because I want to make it as insightful as possible for yourselves. If you are ever scanning a really, really large property and you do want support, or you want to ask some questions on what the best way to do it, what the most efficient way to do it is, I highly recommend reaching out to our team at iGUIDE. We can always walk you through what we think would be the best method or what's going to save you the most time, and give you some tips and tricks depending on those really specific large buildings. Sometimes people will take multiple USBs, sometimes they'll use multiple cameras. We're happy to help provide any insight we can if you're ever getting into those really, really large properties. Okay. Now a couple of other cool stats as well. So iGUIDE was present in 42 countries in 2024. So quite global. There was 9,400 cities that had at least one iGUIDE, and just over 300 provinces or states with iGUIDES as well. So quite vast the network is. Let's get into then some of the fun stats. So when we were doing this webinar, we wanted to make it a little bit fun. And so what I actually did is I reached out to our drafting team and I asked them for their most, I would say, interesting iGUIDES of the year. And they let me know that they had at least, which is could be more, 8 fuzzy carpeted walls. These are mostly found in bathrooms. So carpeted bathrooms, carpeted bathroom walls seems to be a little bit of a trend that they see pop up there. They also had 4 haunted buildings, or buildings that they believe could be haunted, that they drafted. A lot of open floor plans, they said. Some interesting, I would say, out of the norm iGUIDES is there was 6 boats, 3 trains, and 3 planes drafted this year. And finally, there is a UFO in the process of being drafted currently. I think he said it's a very fun kitchen, so I think it might be a fun Airbnb, but he wouldn't disclose further. It might be classified. So, but wanted to share some of those fun stats that our drafting team has seen throughout the year.
Thanks, Kyla. I've seen some of the haunted houses and some of the boats, but I've not seen the UFO yet. So, but please feel free to add in questions about that, and I'll try to find out more. I don't know if we'll be able to share that one, but yeah, that one's very fun. Sweet. So a bit of a timeline. What happened? This was actually really helpful for me. I started at iGUIDE over halfway through the year, so this is we're learning together. We launched the iGUIDE PLANIX app. So you're now able to do surveys from the app, and it works in tandem with the new R1, which we'll get into a little bit later. But that actually launched in January on the iOS and Android Google Play Store. Then we launched Revit files. So Revit RVT is a file format. Used to be its own company, is now owned by AutoCAD, and is a 3D sort of architectural design file type. It's becoming a bit more of an industry standard. And we now have that as an add-on option, which is exciting and is a lot of what I'm speaking to. We'll get into more of that a little bit later as well. Lead Magnet also launched in April. That's for real estate agents who want to gate their the full iGUIDE, so you can see a preview of perhaps just the kitchen or the foyer. And then to see more of the home, you enter in your email address, and then you immediately get an email with a link to the full iGUIDE. That's available as of April. And June, we have disable address, 2D and 3D CAD, and new create page. We'll get into more the 2D and 3D CAD and the create page, but Kyla, did you have anything you wanted to mention about disable address?
Yes, so I did want to mention because we have seen some questions come up recently about can I disable my address or can I have it non-indexable on Google? And this is something that we launched in June. So we want to make sure that this is widely spread to everybody so they know this news. When you're on the create page, when you go to enter your address as you would prior to June, there's actually an option. It's just a little checkbox to go ahead and hit, and you will be able to disable the address. So it's just a checkbox, you select it, and then all you'll have to enter is at least 5 characters. They can be letters, they can be numbers, they can be special characters, but it just has to be a minimum of 5. And then in that case, your property can be public. It doesn't have to be private or protected, but it won't be indexable. It won't have the address in the URL. It would be kind of completely hidden, similar to how it would be when you would do a duplicate in a private view. So it's something I really wanted to call out just because I'm not sure if everybody knows about it, and we want to make sure because it was something really asked for that it's shared more widely.
Nice. Also, auto blurring and manual blurring both launched this year in July and August. Auto blurring is available on a per iGUIDE basis. Also, interestingly, if you just want a blanket, it's available in your general settings so that every iGUIDE that you upload after that, not your previous ones, won't be affected, but the future ones will all have that auto blurring. Auto blurring is pretty good, but if people are turned sideways, etc., it may not detect them. So just keep that in mind, and manual blurring is still an option. PLANIX R1 camera, that's the big sort of news for the past 3 months here at iGUIDE. That we'll talk more about that and the new ION map. So ION is independent iGUIDE operator network, and we had an old map that lots and lots of people were part of, and we've got this new map that you need to sign up for. Kyla, do you want to mention that some more on that?
Yeah, so we launched this recent new ION map at the beginning of October. We've probably sent out a couple of emails just saying that this new map has launched. So we did just want to call out that this is new. So if you'd signed up for the previous one, we've imported you over, but we aren't able to connect your Google business account manually. So that's why you guys are receiving emails to try and get set up. On launching the new map. You do have to sign up. So if you haven't received those emails or you haven't signed up yet, you'll have to do that going forward. And what we'll actually say is if you aren't sure and you do want assistance, please feel free to reach out to that customer success email, and we'll go ahead and we'll help support you get signed up. But it is new. It does require you actually connect your business profile. And so if you are on the old one, you're not necessarily on the new one yet without doing that. So please feel free. That's kind of what we wanted to emphasize there.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's really easy and doesn't take long. And if nothing else, it's really good for your Google SEO.
Perfect. Okay. I think this one's
Yeah,
you.
nice. Okay, so this is an overview slide. We'll get more into each one of these in a second. 2D and 3D CAD packages we launched in June. So this is another add-on in addition to the Revit file that came out earlier in the spring. Also the R1 camera launched in October. That is new and exciting, and is a smaller, lighter, more compact, fits in a camera bag addition to the iGUIDE lineup, and the new Ion map that Kyle just went into detail on. Feel free to go check that out. I think that's, and if you're not on there yet, definitely do that. It doesn't take long.
Perfect. Okay. So we did want to call out, we mentioned this just in this previous slide about the 2D, 3D CAD launch that happened in June this year. So this is a new package or drawing offerings, more in our architecture and remodeling space. But this is a way for you to get a head start on the as-built drawings. What we did want to call out, because this is obviously a new product, there is one little piece of information about the 3D CAD packages specifically, and the capture process. So we've run a few webinars on it over the course of the last few months. But with the 2D CAD capture, with the Revit documents and files, with the DWG files in the CAD space, you don't really need to do anything new. You keep the camera as is, you walk through the property that you're shooting, and you kind of work as normal, and you could even go back on a previous property and resubmit that data for those packages if it's something you're interested in obtaining. But when it comes to the 3D CAD packages, there's a little bit of new capture requirements that need to happen. And we've seen this is something that gets rejected from time to time, and you might see the reasoning for it. So we wanted to call it out on this webinar. And what that is, those two kind of new pieces of information, is that you do have to take exterior shots for any and all 3D CAD packages. You do have to take the exterior shots. So that means taking the camera outside and shooting around the perimeter of the building. I tend to recommend at least the corners and at least 1 to 2 shots per side, just to make sure you're capturing that exterior data. The other thing that's really important that you will need for 3D CAD capture is you will need to turn the camera on its side, or what we call vertical scanning. So that's when the camera has been tilted, and the LiDAR, instead of going like this in a horizontal plane, it's going straight up and down in a vertical plane and actually hitting the side of the buildings, the walls, the ceiling heights. And the reason for that is obviously we're trying to get that data and that capture in order to create those 3D models. So it is something we wanted to call out. We do have some training material on it. We have run a couple of webinars. So if it's something you do have additional questions about, it's something I would also recommend reaching out to us, and we can help support you with that as well. And then we promised some customer stories, and we did promise a lot of QR codes. So if you see the QR code in the bottom of this slide, this is Marcel, who was great to do a really good customer testimonial or story with us, kind of outlining the success he's seen with iGUIDE and how it's really helped his business. But I wanted to call out a couple of particular things that he mentioned in this article. So really recommend going ahead and having a read of it. But Marcel had a problem before coming to iGUIDE where taking measurements on site was a big time suck. So sometimes it could take hours on smaller properties, and sometimes it could take days on larger, more complex properties. And obviously he was doing it the old-fashioned way. So handheld lasers, measuring wheel, long tape, rulers sometimes. Tape measure is obviously the most common one. And there was obviously room for human error that could happen there. There was also the possibility of multiple site visits if you missed something the first time. And really common, I'm sure people have heard in construction space, the change of scope. So potential to having to go back again and again and again if something has changed. So Marcel started using iGUIDE, and it really simplified the process for capturing those measurements, and was easy to share the virtual tour and do measurements post scan. So he was able to use that and share that widely where he needed to share it. And it really helped cut down on his time. And more recently, Marcel's actually moved to start getting DWG and other CAD files. And he mentioned that his architect cannot believe how quickly he's able to get that turnaround. So DWG files, we can turn around in about 48 hours. And if you go up into the other packages, there's 1 to 5 days for the 2D CAD and 5 to 10 days for the 3D CAD packages. So some timelines to keep in mind, but something we can definitely help support. And Marcel obviously saw success with this. Oh,
Awesome. All right. Oh, Kyla, I have something for you.
do you?
Yeah, sure do. Chris and I got together this morning to give you this.
Oh, this is very exciting Christmas gift.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and open it right now on the screen.
Yeah.
Oh, it's wrapped quite well.
You know,
what could it be? What could it be?
we're thinking this is missing in your life, and you know, oh, hold it up. Yes, there it is. So this is the box.
This is the box, and we've also you've probably seen this launch very recently. We have a couple of unboxing videos as well, but it's quite a
Oh, that's really, yeah, tear it off. There we go. Yes.
perfect.
Nice. Okay. That's very fun. I bought that wrapping paper special for today as a surprise. Share. Okay. Very fun. Okay, the iGUIDE PLANIX R1. So we talked briefly about it. 40 some percent smaller and 35% lighter than the PLANIX Pro. It doesn't require its own Pelican case, so it fits, it's got its own cover on top. You can fit it into your system as part of your regular camera bag, and also has like a swappable battery, which is nice. The battery also charges separate from the camera. The big difference here, though, is that the data capture is not onto a USB, which is nice because USBs have been corrupted in the past, and you can lose data that way. So the data is actually getting transferred and stored onto your phone. You can upload directly, and the R1 is sort of a move in this sort of trajectory to at some point maybe skip stitch for simple properties. But if you're doing outside stuff and changes of elevation, you may still want to go to stitch. Still an option. You just transfer that from your phone to your laptop, and you're able to use stitch just as you would with the PLANIX Pro. So yeah, it's an evolution of the product, and not rather than a revolution. But it's if you're just getting into iGUIDE, it also has some baked in features such as SLAM, simultaneous location and mapping, which is fun. Basically, what that means in this instance is that it will give you a sort of stoplight system where green is good, yellow is maybe you've gone a little bit too far from your previous scan, and red is it's sort of lost the plot, and you may want to do another scan to bridge that gap so that the auto stitching will work well. So good initial feedback especially for new users of this system. Yeah.
Perfect. And we've got a little video in here and some information again with the QR code. And the information actually links to a really great story from Doug Logan, just detailing again his business and how this has helped him there. And then finally, we wanted to go back to that ion map again. I think we've already covered this pretty in depth. Covered this pretty in depth. But again, just want to emphasize that this is a new map. So if you've seen those emails going around and you thought you'd already signed up, it is a new map that needs to be signed up for, or well, not necessarily signed up for, but connected to your Google Business profile. So just give us an email if you have any questions about it. But again, this is just to help you grow your business. So this is going to look very similar actually to what it looks on the screen there. That's exactly what it looks like actually. And you can go ahead and see yourself, an operator who might be just looking for one iGUIDE can find you in their area, and they can reach out to you and potentially get you new business. So this is just all about putting your name out there, helping your search engine optimization, your SEO, and basically helping to grow your business further. Perfect. And then, yes, another customer story. We really wanted to emphasize as well. Our team has done a really good job talking with others recently this year and getting their stories kind of consolidated in one place so we can really understand how people have found growth and kind of share. I always find learning from other customers is the best way to understand a new product. So if you ever want to read about how they've grown their business, Lauren has a really great example here of having to iterate and adapt during the pandemic and how they incorporated iGUIDE in and how it's really helped grow their business, especially because obviously at that time, but we're finding even more now, virtual tours were obviously mandatory at the time. And now it's kind of a way to get rid of those tire kickers, you know, the people who want to sit at home, see the tours before they even come out. And so you get rid of those people that are, you know, not as serious and really helps move the sales quicker. I highly recommend reading any of those stories on our website.
Nice one. Thanks, Scott. Love hearing customer stories. If you want to ever share your customer stories, we always love hearing that. So please reach out. Sort of related to revenue streams and what all the new add-ons that iGUIDE has created, like Revit, 2D, 3D CAD, DWGs, all these sort of three-letter acronyms that are coming. If you're ever confused about any of that, scan this QR code, read through some of the docs. That QR code is also has some links to the new marketing materials, which I'll talk about. But just a quick overview. There's webinars on pretty much each and every one of these, but I just wanted to do an overview. So general contractors and architects, people who say want to do a major addition on their home, they need permits and they need as-built sort of drawings. Very, very handy and time saver. That's how Marcel uses it. Interior designers, same sort of thing. You can take iGUIDES and send them either for virtual staging or into Photoshop and do staging remotely. Commercial real estate design, vacation rental properties, Airbnb. I've talked to some of our top customers, and a lot of them are doing more and more work for Airbnb. Depending on your city, exit plans are starting to become required for Airbnbs. So they really want accurate and nice floor plans for that. Virtual staging, I mentioned that earlier, but that's not something that iGUIDE itself offers, but we do have a workflow for you to be able to offer that as an additional revenue stream. So if you have any questions about that, let us know. Event and venue marketing, just how people want to see your space. Maybe they're coming to your city to book a major event. So it's not just for real estate, it can be for large venues. And documenting a property loss. So we are seeing a growth in insurance and restoration. And that's really important because before, during, and after a property loss, it needs to be very well documented, because adjusters are often remote. They're often sitting at a desk, maybe not even in the same state or province, and they rarely come out unless the job is over $50,000 or $100,000 anymore. So it's really on the restoration contractors to be able to document that before, during, and after, so that they can get paid and prove that they did what they said they did to restore that home. So really, really important, and it's awesome to see iGUIDE being used that way.
Awesome.
Nice. So I just did a quick number. There's over 20 new customizable marketing materials and assets. So customizable, meaning these are links to Canva templates. So you're able to put your own, you can rebrand these to your own. We have PowerPoint presentations available for you to download. So if you want to speak, if you want to, now it's a slower time for real estate photographers. So I'm talking to my teams about, hey, how can you grow into new markets? And I often reference these. So scan this code. This is a really, really good one to save. If you scroll down to the bottom of this page, there's also samples for all of those 2D, 3D, DWG, Revit file samples. Feel free to save those, get your sort of head wrapped around the acronyms, and feel free to reach out if you want some more tips on how to sell that. But this is a great place to start.
Yeah. Yeah, and like Peter said there, I think this is some of the stuff that sometimes gets lost in all the emails we send. We're going to cut down on those, don't worry. But there has been some really great launches this year with marketing materials that's been, pushed out there, but maybe you haven't seen yet. Like Peter said, there's a lot of samples. One thing I get asked about probably the most is, do you have a sample? Do you have a sample? And typically I recommend people going here because usually most things are sampled here first. But if there is other samples you're looking for as well, I'm always happy to share those too. But these are self-accessible as well. So if you ever need it or you want to share it with a prospective client, this is a great resource and tool that's probably not known about as much as it could be. On that point as well, we did want to call out that over 2024, we did more than 50 webinars, trainings, and master classes. And we launched our weekly 101 and bi-weekly 102 trainings or webinars. And this has been really great, especially for new users. But I do recommend, especially those 102 trainings, if you have questions that you're not sure and you kind of want to bounce off other people, I do recommend attending these biweekly webinars. They're an opportunity to talk with one of our onboarding specialists, who he'll take you through. It might be a structured class depending on who's in the webinar, or it might be a bit of a Q&A and some one-on-one time to talk through, or one plus a group time to talk through some specific questions or anything we can assist with. And we do intend to continue to do these master classes, trainings, webinars when new launches come in 2025. So look out for that going into the new year. And again, because we are QR code happy today, there is a QR code link to the page on our website that actually has all our webinars that are going on and recordings of past ones as well. So if you are someone who's got a little bit of time right now and you want to check out maybe the advanced capture webinar that went through the 2D and 3D CAD, that's a great one to check out. And I think there's a couple of really good ones on growing your business, getting into new markets and stuff like that as well. So lots of great materials that has been covered, and it's at your fingertips at any time as well.
Yeah. And if you find it overwhelming, because there are a lot of webinars, just let us know what you're trying to achieve, and we can curate that list for you and shorten it up.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right. I wanted to talk a little bit about industry trends and looking ahead, which is always a little bit dangerous, but we're going to try. MLSs, especially in the United States, consolidation has really started to slow, but data sharing has increased. So that's really interesting because the MLSs have traditionally been sort of fractured and wanted to be closed off, and everybody has their own little gated community of data. That's starting to shift. The mindset is moving to more and more open data. So that means that the API and backend tools to connect these MLSs and platforms and even iGUIDE are starting to become more connected. So we're seeing that with Flex MLS in the United States, for example. We're working with them, and they've been able to take in our REST API so that they can pull in room data, et cetera, automatically without having to do a bunch of typing on the real estate agent's end. And there's no extra cost for those uses of the API. So if you have API sort of questions, yeah, we'd love to know. I really like that stuff. I like finding out about it and chatting about it. So that's an industry trend, but it's also a trend here at iGUIDE. Rise of AI, generative AI. Everybody's been hearing it. 2024 was the year of AI, so we couldn't not have it in here. I was at the PMRE conference, and it was a big talk. There was a lot of buzz around it and a lot of talks about AI. There's a huge shift towards AI photo editing. It's a lot of people saying it's not quite there, but those are things that are getting close, and there's the things that get better over time. Virtual staging, AI virtual staging is happening. Whether or not that's maybe misrepresenting is a different issue, and one we could do an entire webinar on, I'm sure. And just other trends in the real estate worlds are land title due diligence, just making it easier for real estate agents to do their jobs and do monitoring of the market. of course, there was that big lawsuit settlement this at the beginning of this year, $400 million National Association of Realtors, United States. Hasn't seemed to affect what's going on in Canada yet too much. But what this has sort of led to is higher scrutiny. And that's maybe cut out some of the fly-by-night real estate agents in the United States, and it's led to more professionalism in industry. So that means more standards, more sort of specific workflows, and hey, this is what we do and how we deliver. So that leads into measurement standards, which along the same trend of the rise in professionalism in real estate, there is a move towards standardization that we're seeing, and more boards, either local or provincial or state level, are moving and considering adopting a clear standard that will be required, whether that's ANSI or RMS or BOMA or all the other different ones. There's so many, and even within BOMA, there's some flexibility there. So we are seeing that as an industry trend, and it's a trend here at iGUIDE that we're going to be considering adopting more standards. So all iGUIDE is compliant. A lot of these measurement standard people ask me, hey, can we use iGUIDE to do X, Y, Z? And the answer is almost always yes, because all of these measurement standards do not dictate a way or a technology. Almost by and large, all of them do not dictate a type of measurement, but just the method and what you include and exclude, and there's a whole checkbox, et cetera. So however, we do ANSI and RMS. So if you're only using ANSI right now, I might suggest that you try switching it to RMS. The reports look a bit nicer, I think. So give it a try and see if you're a real estate agent. You can always export in both, and see which your real estate agent likes best. And it may be a differentiator that works for you.
Perfect. And like I said, these are some of the industry trends we've seen. Peter was out at PMRE a couple of weeks ago, and this was heavily talked about. But if there's anything that is really pressing on your mind, and you want us to cover going into 2025, or you have on the top of your mind, let us know. We'd be happy to know about it. We'll be happy to run any kind of webinars in the new year around things that are really important to yourselves. We want to make sure, again, we'll kind of draw it back to the beginning of the webinar, but we want to make sure our clients are having success. Like, that's really part of our job here. So anything we can do to help create or drive that success, that's really what we're here for. So we want to know about it, and we're happy to run anything that's going to help people out going forward. So we probably are going to give you a lot of time back today, which is good. We were worried we might talk too much. We can both be a bit chatty.
Oh, 40 minutes. Well, we did it. 39 minutes. All right.
But we wanted to thank you all for joining us today. It's been wonderful to go over kind of everything that happened with 2024.